The storm hit the city the same night Rowan Hale realized he had run out of second chances. He stood under the flickering streetlight with his 6-year-old daughter asleep in his arms, her head tucked against his rain-soaked jacket. The landlord's final notice crumpled in his pocket, the ink bleeding in the downpour, just like the future he feared he could no longer protect. That night, as thunder rolled over the darkened skyline, Rowan made a decision that would change not only his fate, but the fate of a woman he had never met. It was on that night that desperation pushed him to accept a marriage contract with a paralyzed heiress whose name carried both power and sorrow. He didn't know it yet, but one unexpected moment inside her silent mansion would alter his heart forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the power of unexpected miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Your support helps these stories keep reaching those who need them most. Rowan had never imagined his life would come to this, clutching his daughter Marina to his chest as he walked toward a black car idling at the curb. The man waiting beside it, August Rennick, wore a gray suit and an expression as carefully polished as the raindrops sliding down the car's windows. He introduced himself simply, stating that he represented the Alden family. No warmth. No unnecessary words. He gestured for Rowan to step inside. It was not a request. Inside the car, Marina stirred, her curls damp from the storm. Rowan held her closer. August watched quietly for a moment, then opened a folder and slid the contract toward him. A marriage in name only. 5 years. Every need covered, every debt erased, and a sum so large Rowan felt dizzy just reading it. In return, he was to marry Celeste Alden, the wheelchair-bound heiress of the Alden Empire, a woman who had not left her mansion in almost 2 years, bound not just by paralysis, but by grief, fear, and the expectations of a ruthless family. Rowan nearly refused. Marriage, even a contractual one, was not something he ever thought he could enter again. Not after losing Marina's mother during childbirth. But then he looked down at his daughter, small and fragile in the crook of his arm, and he signed the contract with a shaking hand. By sunrise, Rowan and Marina were driven into the gated entrance of the Alden estate. The mansion stood like a silent cathedral of wealth, its windows tall and unreadable, its hallways echoing with a cold that could swallow a person whole. Servants moved quietly, eyes lowered, carrying trays and folders as if the very air demanded silence. Marina, normally excited by new places, clung to Rowan's coat, her gaze nervous as they were led to the private wing where Celeste lived. He entered her room expecting bitterness or entitlement. Instead, he found a woman sitting near the window, her wheelchair turned toward the pale morning light. Celeste Alden was fragile at first glance, her legs motionless under a blanket, her frame slender and tense, but there was something else in her eyes, something he recognized too well, exhaustion born from surviving far too much. She looked at Rowan for barely a second, then at Marina, and something within her expression softened, so subtly he almost thought he imagined it. The marriage ceremony was held privately, just signatures, witnesses, and a ring slipped onto Celeste's unmoving hand. She did not meet his gaze. He did not force it. The first weeks were a quiet battle between caution and survival. Celeste rarely spoke, and when she did, her voice was so soft Rowan sometimes wondered if she had spent too long silencing herself for the comfort of others. Her accident, a fall down the marble staircase the night her parents died, had taken not just her mobility, but the confidence she once wielded effortlessly. The world had called it a tragedy. Celeste called it punishment. Rowan tried not to intrude into her solitude. He helped where he could, arranging her books within easier reach, opening curtains she could not pull herself, adjusting the heater when her hands trembled. Marina, unaware of grown-up boundaries, became the first crack in Celeste's emotional armor. She brought crayons to Celeste's room, placing pictures on her lap with a smile so sincere that even the cold walls of the mansion seemed to warm just a little. Celeste began thanking her in whispers. Marina began hugging her goodnight. But the night everything changed arrived quietly, without storms or warnings. Rowan found Celeste in the conservatory long after midnight, her wheelchair positioned in front of a glass wall streaked with moonlight. Her hands trembled as she tried to lift a small plant pot, her frustration echoing off the glass. When the pot slipped through her weak fingers and shattered, she let out a sound, a broken, helpless sob that pierced Rowan's heart. He knelt beside her without a word, gathering the pieces. Celeste pressed her lips together, ashamed of needing help. But Rowan did not look at her with pity. Instead, he said the first truth he had dared to voice since arriving at the mansion, that strength was not the absence of weakness, but the decision to keep waking up each morning despite it. Celeste stared at him for a long moment, tears trembling in her lashes. And then she broke, not in despair, but in release. She told him her fears, her guilt, how the world believed her unbreakable until she broke and could no longer fit their expectations. Rowan shared his own burdens, how he sometimes felt he was failing Marina, how loss had shaped him into someone afraid to hope. They talked until the moon dipped behind the horizon, and in that quiet space, two broken souls recognized each other. Days turned into weeks, and Rowan slowly became part of Celeste's recovery. He learned the routine of her physical therapy sessions, offering encouragement as she fought for small victories, a twitch in her toes, a moment of balance when she gripped the parallel bars, a breathless laugh when she succeeded at lifting something she once couldn't. Marina clapped for her each time, her joy loud enough to shake the dust from every corner of that lonely mansion. Celeste began joining Rowan and Marina for breakfast. She requested the curtains stay open more often. She asked Rowan to read to her, sometimes poetry, sometimes children's books at Marina's insistence. Life seeped back into her like sunlight over frost. And Rowan? Rowan felt something shift inside him, something warm and painful and terrifying, as if his heart had been asleep too long and was beginning to wake. It wasn't love at first sight. It was love creeping in through small kindnesses, quiet moments, and the way Celeste smiled when Marina braided flowers into her hair. It was love that grew from witnessing her fight to reclaim a life stolen too early. It was love that formed not from a contract, but from connection. But the Alden family, cold and calculating, had not created the marriage contract out of kindness. They wanted Celeste married to maintain the family image, to protect their corporate interests, to silence rumors. When they learned Rowan's presence was influencing Celeste's recovery beyond their expectations, they grew suspicious. Celeste's uncle, the acting chairman, summoned Rowan to his office with a threat hiding beneath every word he spoke. Rowan was reminded of his place, a hired spouse, disposable if necessary. The fear of losing Marina's new stability, the fear of being cast out, weighed heavy on him. He considered leaving before Celeste or Marina could be hurt. But the thought of abandoning them, of returning Celeste to the silence she had only just escaped, was unbearable. The turning point came during one of Celeste's physical therapy sessions. She tried a new exercise, gripping the bars tightly as she attempted to stand with support. Rowan stood beside her, Marina hopping excitedly at his feet. Celeste's arms trembled violently, sweat beading on her forehead, but her eyes burned with determination. When she managed to lift herself half an inch higher than ever before, she nearly collapsed, but Rowan caught her. For the first time, Celeste did not apologize for her weakness. She simply allowed herself to rest against him, trusting him completely. Later that night, when the mansion was quiet, she told him something she had never said aloud, that the night of her accident, she had been running from grief, from loneliness, from the weight of trying to be the flawless daughter her parents demanded.